coaching program that we started to run in May. And we've been running it now, so May till November, and we've still got more sessions. So we've been running it around about 6 months. So I'd always planned that we'd have a bit of a review and a bit of a, just have a look at what has worked well and where we might want to make some modifications, or if it's not working well. So I've prepared a report, which I'd sent a copy to everybody, just summarising from my perspective the big picture of the program. So I want to thank the coaches that have delivered PACE programs so far, and also encourage other coaches, if they're interested, to give it a go. And I know some of that is happening at the moment. So we'll get to that once I've just had a little overview summary. And then after I've done the summary, I'm happy to have some shared experiences. And I know that both Bob Kerr and Lynn Graham and I think one other person whose name escapes me has given me Roberta they've also written a bit of a report about how it's gone, which is really helpful. So interested in their experiences and other coaches. And then any other feedback that people want to give about the program overall, what we might want to carry forward, and then what shape do we want PACE to take next year, and how might we fashion that. That's the coverage. Is there anything else people need me to cover? And Rick, I think, is going to put the recording button on. Is that correct, Rick? Oh, he's done that already? Good. So just going back to my overview, so I've indicated that we've started in May in parks, and Peter did a ricochet program there, and we've gone kind of all the way down from the northern rivers down the eastern coast pretty much, and to Canberra, Wagga, Orange, as well as a number of sessions in Sydney. And we still have some Southern Highlands, South Sydney, Hunters Hill, and this morning we had a call from Griffiths. So we've still got more demand for programs that's continuing to come in. So we've delivered 22 sessions. I think after yesterday, Peter and I did another one. It's 23 sessions to 19 clubs. Apologies, I wrote we'd reached 3,226 players. That's not correct. It's 326. So my apologies. Wishful thinking. Most sessions have been golf, croquet, but we've had 3 ricochet sessions, 1 AC, and 4 golf, croquet talent level sessions, so sessions for more experienced players. 70% of the attendees were female, 30% of male, so that's pretty on track with our demographics. So far I've done the booklet on the golf croquet foundation program, and I've done a draft A4 format set of notes for the GC talent and for the ricochet and the AC sessions. I haven't been confident enough to print them as booklets because the demand hasn't been there, and I'd like to do a bit more work on them. On the whole, the program's been well received, and I've put on those notes a summary of the feedback. So you could see that most people rated the program overall as 9 out of 10, 9.1 out of 10. The content is 9.2 out of 10, and the presenters' skill levels and knowledge is 9.6. So well done, presenters. And maybe there's a little bit of tweaking to do on our on the content. So that's, but obviously people are pretty happy, and obviously people are really happy when you take the trouble to visit them and do some coaching. So I wasn't expecting some really large outliers here, but so it's useful for us to attend to the nuances of it. I've put some sample comments on the sheet that I gave you, and I think the approach of the presenters has been one of the things that people have commented on. Lots of people have said that they've learnt something. Often it can be quite a small thing. I think that people found the group sizes. Peter and I did some groups of 24, and I think that is logistically tricky to manage, and people, I think, have a preference for a smaller group, which is understandable. There was some suggestions about perhaps having some actual games with the coaches watching a game. Perhaps a little more, people always like one-on-one coaching, and that's a challenge. I'm not sure it's something that we can deliver as a standard, but it might be something to think about. People found the rules sessions, mostly people did take up the rules sessions in golf croquet and became quite engaged. So that was obviously, there's still a demand out there to know more about rules. I think people appreciated having a booklet. It's kind of just a sense in which we've taken the program seriously and that they have something they can then work on and kind of have as a reminder of the session. I think Peter and I did do an extended session at Coots where we tried to do talent golf croquet over a full day, and I think a couple of people found that was perhaps we didn't have enough content, and that's probably a fair comment because we haven't worked on that side of the program as much. I've said that I think there is a hunger for some more advanced material. So a lot of the people who came were at a level where they were experienced club players, I would say. A number of them were in an earlier stage, but quite a few would have done those kind of drills before. They always enjoy a reminder, but I think even yesterday we did a session at our club, and the club players were saying we would still value more on tactics and strategy, even though our skill level may not be huge. It's still really helpful to understand more about tactics to maximise how we can manage, work in our games. So that was an interesting comment. I think Ricochet proved a bit more popular than we thought, partly because there aren't many Ricochet coaches around and people have an interest in that game. So that's an interesting learning. We haven't had any requests for gate ball sessions, which I'm a bit sad about. We had 20 people playing gate ball at our club yesterday. I've said the rules is helpful, and I have, as I said, drafted a talent level text, so we can talk about that a bit later as a possibility to extend along for next year. Some clubs are starting to want to run the program themselves or to follow up themselves. So, for instance, Lismore wanted a coach to come in January, or they wanted Peter and I to come up in January, and we said that really doesn't work for us. So we're sending books up to Deb, and I think David, Scott and Ray will work with her to run the program for the Lismore Club herself. So I think that's I think that's a valuable and useful way to go forward, instead of necessarily having to import a coach. So that were the main comments that I've put in my report. Is there any things that people want to say about that? And then I'll perhaps go to people's experience that they will have had with the course. Roberta, thank you for putting up your hand. So polite.
I was being polite. It's not like me, you know that. I thought it was really interesting, the thing that you're saying about giving the resources to coaches and clubs where they've already had one. And I think that's one of the key things, is empowering the local coaches to do it themselves. So you and Peter very nicely came and did one at Marrickville Croquet Club, so I could check out what it was all about, and which was wonderful, and everybody really appreciated it. But then just having the resource and using the framework was very useful. You know, obviously I think coaches put their own touch to it in terms of what they're used to delivering and how they sort of set things up and that sort of stuff. And I think that that's fine, but that gives, you know, the local coaches a better idea. So the one I did, I've only done one and it went very well. The other one rained out and I wasn't going to go and do it in the rain because they wouldn't have done it in the rain. They wanted to be inside. Yeah, getting them to do it themselves, I think, is a really important thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Well illustrated, Roberta. Any other comments or queries about the big picture side of things? Yes, Bob.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little against that. I do believe that the local coaches have got to be trained, etc. But having someone who's outside the club, the players trained, etc. But having someone who's outside the club, the players listen probably better to what they do to their own because they've always got them there. And I just think that adds to the coaching.
Yeah. No, that's a fair...
I could give you the scientific background on it, having been trained as a coach, but I won't.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that. Absolutely, Rob, that it's really important having another voice come in, but particularly for your foundation level people, just having a good framework for the local coaches to do, because the one I did, they didn't really do any coaching. So, you know, getting them to do it properly from the get-go is quite good too.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think both of those things are true, Bob. So yeah, I think one of the longer term goals is to stimulate and empower people to about their coaching in their own club, not simply to wait for the event when the outside coach comes. But different clubs will react differently to that. Doug.
Kate, I've been a bit frustrated by a couple of things. One, that getting very little response from the South Coast clubs. And what Roberta said about using local coaches might be a preference for some of these clubs, but they're not responding to my emails. And I'm sort of basically just acting on behalf of our hub coordinator, but although it's not the same thing, I'm just not sure what the issue is. You know, like I can guarantee you that all our club players aren't fully experienced enough to not require coaching, and I'm wondering whether maybe they think that the program is too basic, but I doubt that they've even looked at the syllabus of it. So it's just frustrating for me.
So that's an interesting comment, Doug. Our club our club captain said that they thought Canberra didn't need to have the session that we gave, and on one level they're absolutely right, because there is coaching available and probably it is a fairly basic course that we're offering, but I said to them, well, we're doing it in Canberra because I want to video it. So that's what we did yesterday. We videoed a sample session and we'll put that online as a kind of thing for people to look at. It won't necessarily be the be all and end all. It'll just be an example. And we got 15 people coming, and I think you have to modify it. Roberta's right. You've got to look at your group and you've got to make some tweaks and push it along a little bit. So maybe we need to sell it, because foundation makes it sound a bit basic. So perhaps what we need to do is be selling what it is a little better, and giving that permission to to kind of adapt it to whatever the local people are mostly interested in. So that's one of my responses. I wasn't sure whether you're saying that that you delivering the program is not what they want, or whether they're not interested in the program per se, no matter who comes along.
Yeah, no, they haven't even accepted the invitation to come to Nowra, for instance, and to a coaching session.
Whereas, yeah. Whereas we came to Nowra and we got a good response from your club members there. Yeah.
I was wondering if it'd be possible to get some of the booklets so I could maybe give one to each of the clubs and say, look, this is what's on offer. And look, is it possible that people just aren't looking at the Croquet New South Wales website? I don't know what the issue is.
I can't imagine that.
Absolutely possible.
Can't imagine that would be the case. Why would they not be there?
Yeah,
no, you're
well,
absolutely right, Doug. Yeah. Heaps of people have no idea what's there and don't look at it. And even when they try and look at it, get annoyed with it. So, yeah, that's... So
well, the thing that I appreciate is that you keep on reinforcing that the resources are available there. You've just got to look at them. And, that's a great start.
That's right. But we do have to understand our market. I'm really happy. And one of the things I was going to ask is I want to reprint the book. We've just about run out and I need to send some to Lismore. And I'm very open to the idea of sending the booklet, some example copies out to clubs, either by demand or as a matter of course, or as a Christmas present, I don't know. And perhaps just checking if I need to make some changes to it before I do that. I don't want to have to make a lot of changes. So, so I would be interested in whether or not people would see that the current iteration of the booklet's got a life that's ongoing, and it might be useful to send it out. Very happy to do that. I'm sure the board would be happy to do it as well. Lynn, Lynn's got her hand up.
Let me play devil's advocate.
Please.
I'm not sure that you should send the booklets out to people who aren't interested in having a session, because I think that's probably a bonus of having the session. I do agree with what Bob said about when he went out to Wagga and Orange, was it? That to set aside a time at the end to look at the booklet. I thought that was good, and I would have liked to do that too, but I didn't have time. But I just wonder if that should be an incentive. I mean, I don't mind either way. Won't get upset if you send it out to everybody, but to me, I think that could be a perk. So just putting that out there.
Yep. No, I think that you're right. I like to take it there, and I think giving it to people later on in the session is helpful as a bit of a, oh my God, a takeaway. So, yeah, Roberta. She's frozen. Might have to come back to Roberta, perhaps. Peter.
In that case, can I just pick up something that Doug raised? I'm finding there's a little bit of confusion out there about the difference between what club hubs do and what PACE is doing. Does anybody have any feedback about that?
Have you got any specific things, Peter, that in that regard, or that comments, or?
Well, an example is Griffith out at past Leeton wanted to have some more coaching. We've been going out there as a club hub exercise basically 2 months to help them along, but they weren't sure whether that was enough or whether a PACE session was anything better. But they did really like the one, Bob, you did at Wagga. 2 of them went there and they wanted to repeat that. So we've ended up agreeing to run a PACE session for them in January. And I guess the difference is that club hub's sort of fairly flexible about what you deliver. You can just stick to straight tactics or whatever you feel like is the need. whereas the pace thing is a bit more of a structure where if you're giving a foundation session.
Around the booklet and the maybe you don't know about looking at it. You can't hear me.
You can now.
Sorry, Roberta, you froze, so we couldn't hear you. Are you unfrozen?
No.
No, she's frozen again. Please put something in the chat line, Roberta, if you can hear us. So
to finish
Peter,
the sentence, I think they ended up deciding that the difference was that the PACE was a structured program targeted at the club level players, and you could see where you're going with it, rather than them having to work out what they wanted someone to come and coach them with. But does anyone else have views on that or any experience with that? Bob?
Yeah. I think it comes back to what Doug was saying earlier on. I know I'm not being inundated with running this session in a bit over a week's time at my home club, because they're probably sick of Bob. But I've got a pretty good assistant in Pam who, was the state coach for many, many years. Yet we're not being overrun by people here, so we're going to open it up to a few foreigners. But if someone else came up and put their hand up, I think we'd be overrun again. We're there 3 or 4 days a week, and they probably get sick of our voices and our faces, although I find that hard to believe.
I do too, Bob.
I think that's part of the thing. To hear that comment about the Griffith people wanting to put it on there after attending my session, really, my head's growing bigger every minute. It was lovely to hear, mate.
Excellent. Fiona, you've got your hand up.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No. Can't hear Fiona.
No, sorry, we can't hear you, Fiona. Can you hear us? You can hear us, but really sorry, we can't hear you. If you want to put something, oh, now I can. Say it, try again. No, I can't. Sorry, I was mistaken. So if you want to put something in the chat room, we'll try and relay it if you've got that capacity. I don't know if you can. Feide, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, Roberta was also ahead of me. Can we get hold of Roberta?
I've been looking at her. I think she's just gone out and perhaps is trying to come back in. Here she comes to see if she can get a better line.
Yes. I have to admit I do have a small gap in my understanding of the PACE program, and just thinking about the clubs that are interested and those that are not. I was thinking that it's mostly geared for people who do not have the resources in their own club to provide their own coaching. And I think this is where the greatest hunger would be to participate, rather than where there are clubs that do have coaching available from within their membership. Then they're not as keen, not as desperate to have it, because they're not missing out all the time. But there are many clubs that don't have any coaching available from within their membership, or not this structured sort of coaching. So I'm just suggesting that might be a difference there. Who was it? Bob was saying that, and Doug, people not taking it up, because now there is a fair bit of coaching availability already, is there?
Like Doug might be frozen. So Feide, I've sent out invitations to all the clubs in the state, as well as having it in the newsletter. And it is the more organised clubs that are approaching me. There are some clubs like Coots Crossing, but that's a hub, so they've had quite a bit of coaching. And Byron Bay and Ballina have put their hands up. So, and Toronto, but also some of the smaller clubs like Parks and Griffith and Belconnen clubs been very keen in Canberra. So I think it depends a little bit on the enthusiasm for coaching. I think some clubs perhaps don't see that that is what they want to do. So it is more the organised clubs, and some of them already have their own coaches, but they're really interested in having a kind of program that gets delivered to reinforce perhaps what the local coaches are already saying. But I'm open to other thoughts on that one, and perhaps I'll get back to Roberta. Do you want to jump in now?
I was also going to say,
Oh, sorry.
shock horror.
Finish off with Heidi.
Shock horror. There are some people, some groups that have no interest in reading the newsletter, and I don't know why.
Can you imagine why? Liz is completely stunned by that comment. But I've sent a direct email to every single club. I can send it, and I'll probably send another direct email following this, depending on where we see it going, to invite them to apply, because it is relevant to every club. So I'm very happy to do that. And sometimes it takes people a bit of word of mouth to bother. Think, oh, what's this Croaky New South Wales thing? So happy, yeah, we've got to keep pushing it, I think, if we want people to pick it up. So sorry, Roberta, I was going to circle back to you because we've missed you out. Do you want to jump in at this point?
I think I probably forgot what there was a couple of things. What I was going to say before was the foundation level coaching and then to talented. It's kind of like there's a couple of the foundation level is a very big bag. Yes. Because it's sort of beginners and then people who are actually club level players and playing, quite competitively, but are they really talented yet? So I guess it's a thing of how you're selling that. And I just wonder whether there's a couple of phasings there. And I think the other thing in terms of what you were just talking about is communication has to be multi-pronged. So the newsletter is one thing, the Kerr New South Wales Facebook's another thing, a specific article, but a bit of a catchy article about the pace, about what people have gotten out of it, that it can be geared differently to different clubs' needs, that it's not, that you have to have a hyper competitive club to want to get it. That's that thing about being in the engaged clubs that seem to be picking it up. That they're wanting more because they've been having it. So that's that thing of the other voices you had said, Bob. So, so how it's the thing of how do you get the other clubs that might not be. So in terms of the South Coast, Doug, which clubs is that? Is that Jamboree even or Wollongong in terms of who's the clubs that, Wollongong's a very closed club anyway, really, in some regards, isn't it? So, it's kind of how do you get past whatever it is that's the barrier to them engaging more broadly.
Did you want to respond to that specifically, Doug? Or
well, a little bit off the track, but we just had a couple of players play ricochet from Parks, and their enthusiasm was outstanding, and they came from it was their first competition, and they were so enthusiastic. It was great. And I believe they've got a fairly strong, well, they're trying to promote, coaching within their club, which obviously they're fairly new, but I was very impressed with their attitude. So that was a good start. Wollongong, as you said, they don't seem to want to respond to emails or anything. And Jamboree's good. We've got a good, the clubs have got a good relationship with each other. And we've got a good relationship with Southern Highlands as well. But I think Malcolm's doing a pretty good job of organising them up there. But they're quite welcome to come down here. We've actually got a friendly organised for the new year, I believe. So one point that I was wondering about is who is who should be the point of contact in each club, and who should be responding to you? Is it the club captain, the secretary, the president? We just had our general meeting, and I didn't even hear any mention of an email from you inviting clubs to participate in the program. Now, I'm not sure what happened there, but is that an issue?
So Penny, you wanted to reinforce that point, did you?
Yes, I didn't receive an email, or I don't know who it went to.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything about the PACE program through
direct mail. Okay, so that would have been back in May or June, just to let you know. So I haven't sent anything recently. So it sounds like I need to do that. I would normally go to the secretary, and on some occasions I'll also put the president in if I want to pack a punch, but the captains are rarely listed as a contact point. So the secretaries theoretically should send it on to the relevant person in each club. So you can have a preferred, who your preferences are. You can set that up in RevSport. Have a talk to Rick about that, about who's going to get the emails. But the secretary should be the one. But I haven't been inundating people, so I'm happy to send that out again.
Could I ask a sort of like a personal question of Canberra? I believe they have a playing or players committee, and is that what promotes their coaching program, or is that, how does that fit in with?
Yeah, we have a playing committee. A lot of clubs don't, and the club captain communicates with all our players about it.
Right.
But we also have a separate hub coordinator who's Peter.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a few different chains of communication. Yeah.
Yep.
Plus we have a club coaching coordinator who's on the playing committee.
Right.
Yep. And he's pretty active. Penny, did you want to add anything? You had your hand up previously.
No, that was really just to say exactly what Doug had said, that I hadn't received anything from you or through the club.
Okay, I'll happy to take that one on board, and I might send some test emails, and next time I'll send it, I'll check with you too to see if you get it.
Thank you.
So the other, I don't know whether Bob or Lynn want to add anything about their experience from delivering the programs, and I know Roberta's also done it, and Peter has as well. Are there any other comments from when you were delivering those programs?
Well, I think you should ask Fiona, because I've delivered it at her club, and I've so I can take it, Fiona. It's all right. Except she can't talk. What a shame.
She can't talk. Yeah, she
just
hasn't
realised.
She's sending us a note by. You're gonna put the note in front of the video camera. No, she's not going to do that. Sorry, go on, Lynn.
Look, I think it went well, but we did have it rained out one day, so we had to really reorganise. I took John Eddies with me because he's very good on the rules, and I knew that they would want that, and I know that went down extremely well. And from what everybody else has said, I think that's a big thing that's probably needed and welcome in these sessions. So I don't know whether, I tried to split it so that we did a bit each, except that the first week I made John go first, because I said, no, you're not going. They won't want to have physical stuff and then go and listen. And of course, then it rained after the listening stuff, so we had to do more. But I think that, that was a really important part. And I have had some feedback from Fiona about them playing matches and using the information and a couple of the drills and things, or some of the things that strategies they've been taught. And I did have some feedback because it rained the first week. I kind of told them, well, this is what we were going to do, and these are a couple of drills we were going to do, and what about this? And a couple of the players did come up to me the following week, and they were people who were playing pennants and said, we've tried those, and yes, that's a good idea, or, can you help us with this? So I think rules is one thing, drills is another thing, and some little strategies, and, I think you've got to vary it.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I know you've done follow-up coaching sessions. So the booklet's kind of designed as a one-off sampling session, but with a series of drills. And I know that other people have also done follow-up sessions, so that Mona Vale, for instance, is very hungry for coaching, and so they're going, Bob and Alison and others, and Penny, I think, are going there. So what I wonder is, if people do want subsequent sessions, whether we need to put a more advanced sample session in the book, so that you've at least got two, and then after that you're on your own as coaches. I'm sure you've got a lot of tricks up your sleeve as well. I have also received from our English visitors that came to Canberra recently a set of drills for Division 3 players. So it's quite an interesting list. Some of it overlaps what we're doing, but it is gives you some other ways that you can set up to achieve some of those drills. It is all technical drills. It's not strategic content. So there is that as an additional resource that I can let people have a look at. But I think that if I did a subsequent session, I would add some strategy, some exercises you could do to try and tease out some strategic decision making, because I think that's something that the players expressed a lot of hunger for. And if they do want to go in competitions, they do need to start thinking, A, how do I win? And B, how do I give myself the best opportunity in the range of skills that I've got to win, to do better. So so that can, just emphasize placement and all that sort of thing. So I think I'm happy to draft something like that and perhaps send it around for people to say, have you thought about including this? So it may be that we'll be doing a bit of an extension to sort of try and encourage people who might want to do follow-up sessions. Is there anything you want to add to that, Bob, just from your experience? Because I think you probably would have made that program your own, I'm sure.
I suppose I did, but I took my wife with me, who's not a coach, but she's been playing for 6 years, so that helped. I've got Rick sitting in the background there. I think he's still there. He was on the receiving end, but he gave me a lot of help at Orange with coaching part of the players, and there was others there at Orange that helped me with that as well. A timetable was what I missed as to how long I should spend on each one. I never got through the whole book.
Yep.
That was just part of it, and I'll be doing, with our session here in a week's time, I'll probably work on something on that. We had a lot of people who travelled 2 hours, one way and 2 hours home, who came along, and they were probably the more advanced players, and I felt sorry for them, but they still gave us a good report because they're country people, they're nice people. The other thing I did was, when we did the drills, I made it a competition between the different groups, and all I had was a little Kit Kat and 2 fingers of Kit Kat. I bought 50 of them. It was handy in driving out to Orange and out to Wagga to fill in the trip as well. But the comment that was made from both places was as soon as the first prize was given, the level of competition and skills went up. So,
Yeah. No, that's a good.
It created
good
a bit of fun.
Yeah, I like that.
And I did make derogatory comments about the outsiders who came in from the different clubs, and they enjoyed that and gave it back to me more than I gave it to them. So I did enjoy it, and the rain held off at Wagga. It rained just after we finished, so I did better than you, Lynn.
I'm not as generous as you. I didn't give Kit Kats. When we were doing some of the drills, I got them to give themselves a certain number of points for different things. That seemed to work too, as an incentive. So,
So I think, I think part of what you've said there is to make it fun, Bob, and create a little bit of humour. I think that's really important. They've got to enjoy it, and having morning tea, I made some muffins yesterday, so kind of making it a bit of a special occasion, I think, is really helpful. People feel like they're being treated and so on. So I think that's a really good tip.
Well,
probably can do without my muffins, Kate.
Well, you'll have to drop by and I'll do a little cooking lesson. I was even thinking of sending out the recipe because one of the guys gave me some mulberries, so I'd made them into muffins, and they actually worked out really well.
I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, you don't have to be a cook. It's okay. So besides doing perhaps an extension exercise in the book, I was also going to list a couple of alternative exercises, so that the placement exercise, there's a range of things you could do for that one. Bob, did you just raise your hand then?
Yeah, I gave the book out at the end because I didn't want them reading the book whilst we were doing the things. No. I followed the book, but it was given at the end, and there was some positive comments on that. Yep, good.
And I appreciate people who've done the feedback forms too, because that was very helpful. So I guess before we sort of head towards the top of the hour, I wanted to look at where we take the program next year. I'm still getting demand for it. Obviously, if I email the clubs again, there'll be a fresh layer of demand. It is dependent on getting people who are willing to travel, and I would encourage people to put their hand up and give the session a go. So it might be that we can find a coach who has done the session before to work with you for the first time. But we probably need to increase the number of coaches who are happy to run it, if we get the demand, if the demand grows. So as I've said, I'm interested in whether we then move on to the next level, which is called talent. So there is some problem with the labels, because it's not that the people who are doing the foundation program don't have talent. So, that's just something to be aware of. It's the sporting organisations labelling. So that booklet I've drafted, I've divided it into the first level of talent, which is where you're identifying your talent level, or working with a coach to look at what potential you might have, and then consolidating your position. And some of this booklet, I think, will be helpful for the development squads that we're in the process of setting up, but they are also very useful for other clubs who might want to be pushing their players on to that next level. So do people think that's going to be an area of demand from where they're sitting? Roberta's put her hand up.
So, Kate, I just wanted to say, if we're uncomfortable with the labels that the sporting organisation puts on it, can't we use our own labels? I mean, to me,
we can.
The foundation is you've got your beginner and club player, maybe club social player, and is your talent your more competitive players. And then, I mean, label it what we talk about it, and you can put talent in brackets if we have to use that terminology to satisfy the funders. But I think we should use the language that people understand, and they're probably more likely to want to engage with it, because, you know, sort of going, oh, this is for the talented players, you know, who's going to go, oh, that's me, you know. Yeah, I just think use our language would be what I.
Yeah. So I think it's I think just trying to understand how those labels apply to croquet is something that I don't think we've nailed it. I don't think we're quite there, because it's not simply a step ladder of how many skills you have evenly up the ladder. It's a slightly more it starts to become geared towards finding people to do representative play. It becomes that reasonably quickly in the talent level, and I'm not sure that model is quite what we're doing in croquet. So I think that's where I'm struggling a bit with the translation. So what we're looking at as we move out of the foundation level 3, which is what most players are, is people who want to do more competition outside their club. So that's probably where we're going.
Yeah, and the people going quickly, it's almost that you've got your fast track as well. You know, so that's the thing of, you can immediately identify people who are on the fast track. You know, Malcolm walked into our club, he was on the fast track. You know, so there's people like that you can immediately identify, and that's fine, but that's not the bulk of the members. No,
it's not. And as you get up the coaching scale, the coaching becomes more targeted, as I say, that the way that's structured. So, but people don't have their lives like that. So we're very common that people will circle through. For instance, they'll start doing golf croquet and maybe get to be very high level, be a Division 1 player, and then they might go back to association and they'll be starting again, you know, through the process, and it's going to take longer. So the track is very variable, but it's just a way of giving people a little bit of an incentive. And so so I'll have a play around with that, and I'll be looking for your creative input, Roberta, when I throw a few ideas your way to see if our labels are going to resonate. But in terms of the content of that more competitive player edge, which I see as you're starting to give people some tools to equip them to go into competition, as well as confirming their skill levels, and also looking at what their motivation is. How keen are they? Are they prepared to put in what it takes? So there's more to it at the next level than simply saying, oh, okay, you can do 3-yard roquets, now you've got to be able to do 5-yard roquets. That's not all there is to it, is probably what I'm saying. So it's just finding a way that we can build those other coaching areas into what we can offer people.
Can I just add, the basic difference is that the foundation level, you know, club players, it's mostly about improving skills. And then when you move into the talent thing, which is, as Roberta said, more about getting into competitive play, you're getting much more focus on tactics and strategy. And then once you move into elite, which is meant to be people who are playing at national and international level, that's really getting to keeping your head together and all the mental stuff. But it's not just a simple continuum like that, because even club players need to have their head together and not panic at the basic level, and they also need some tactics. And even the elite players need to remember some of the skill stuff and, you know, be constantly going back and refreshing. So it's like you said, there's a lot of circling back in that. But I really like Roberta's point that perhaps talent should be rebadged as competitive or something along that line.
Yeah. Yep. Or extension or something. Yeah.
Committed.
Yeah, I'm liking those words.
We have a lot of people that want to play, but they're not committed.
Aspirational.
Bandits.
Okay. All right. That's great. I'm liking those inputs, guys.
I think one of the things that's different in those levels is the people that do want to go outside their own club and play against others. My perspective, I suppose, is a bit different because I come from a very large club where people can get to play with a lot of different people inside their own club, but making that effort to check and see where tournaments are on around the state and to apply to go into those other tournaments is putting your life on a limb, but it's people that are wanting to strive harder and play more competition. So maybe that's a differentiating factor.
Yeah, that's the threshold between foundation and talent, that you're trying your wings outside your club.
Yeah.
Whereas there are a lot of us who might go to other clubs and play in some competition who aren't really, we don't think of ourselves as talent. But
well, you don't want to take that commitment to continuous improvement necessarily.
Yes. But I totally agree with what Roberta said about finding a word that describes the people that are wanting to play at a higher level, not just win more games.
Yeah. And I think the other issue is that as we move along the track, having these one-off type of sessions is limited. It's very, there's a limit to what you can get through in one session. And it's just a balance of how much we can send coaches, I guess, out into the field to do more than that, to do follow-up sessions. So it is going to be about finding coaches in that vicinity who can take up that sort of coaching program and deliver it as an ongoing program rather than a kind of one-off session. So that's probably one of I'm trying to work out if there's another model I need to think about, or whether the sort of idea of the coach going out running a sample program and leaving some resources is still going to work at this next level. Penny, you've got your hand up.
I was just wondering whether we could offer to those people that have taken up the coaching program a morning of competition to put what they've learned into practice. Not have the coaching session as such, but just have a game.
Yep. That's not a bad idea, Penny. As a sort of follow-up.
That ties into some of the feedback that they wanted to then follow up the session with some sort of coached game so they could actually, try it out.
Well, you could have, we're doing Mona Vale, but I don't know who else has happened around the area. You could get, I think there's 20 people at Mona Vale. You could get another 20 people at Chatswood if they've done it, and join them together and put the competition into it.
Yeah, no, that's a nice idea. I know Hunters Hill's also done some sessions, and Warrawee, and there's a few people like that who might not be entering a lot of other external contests.
Even just, a couple of hours, even select only a few people.
Yeah, well, and not everybody will make it.
Okay,
that's a good suggestion. Roberta?
I think Doug was before me.
Doug.
Oh,
sorry.
You mentioned before, Kate, about visiting coaches. I do recall seeing an invitation to coach one of the clubs, and I was wondering if I'm missing something, or is there some way of seeing who's available to coach or who's volunteered to coach that session, so that, well, for one, I can decide that, it's too far for me to travel, or I'm quite happy to travel, but we don't, well, I'm making an assumption here, but we would probably prefer that coaches don't have to travel any further than they have to, type of thing. Is that something that's available, or am I missing something, or is it something you do?
So at the moment, I've asked people who are interested in running coach programs. So I've been looking for people who've said that where they're willing to travel. So we can update that because that was something information from about May. So that's been me putting that in, and we put them into the system as an event, but I don't always say who the coach is. So that's something that we could do. Right. There is a capacity in Rev Sport to be able to find a coach in your area, which I haven't activated. So that means someone in, Port Macquarie might be able to do a map search to see, I want a golf croquet coach, within the next 100 kilometres, where are they? That would require a number of coaches to be willing to make themselves available to be contacted. So that's something we can look at doing. That's not too difficult to do. You just have to agree to put your name on that register, and there's a search facility that's in Rev Sport. So that would be, each person would have to take the initiative to kind of look for somebody. Otherwise, if the coaches who are interested want to know which clubs are looking for coaches coming up, that's something that I just run a spreadsheet, so I can circulate the spreadsheet about which, so I've sent you the one that's already been that I'm using. So that's another way that you can get that information. And I've also, we've got a poster that you can use once you've decided to have the session to promote that session to other clubs. So that's the idea of that. So some clubs have used that. Some clubs, I've done the poster for them. So there is the capacity to have just a pro forma saying where the session is going to be held and who the coach is. And then it's up to the club to circulate that, whoever the host club is. That's how we've done that. Or I attach it to the event.
So does the number of participants decide how many coaches you might need at one session? Like let's say juniors, for instance, you'd have to have a coach for every, half a dozen players.
That's true. And I think I've worked on a rough guide of about up to 12 per one coach, which might even be too big. So when Peter and I coach together, then we've said we'll take up to 24 people. But in hindsight, that still might be having too many in a session. You're right about juniors. We haven't really got into that. That's got a whole lot of specific requirements. But the people are saying they want smaller rather than bigger groups. But you're right. What I've suggested is if the group needs, if it's a bigger group, that there be more local coaches helping. So Peter and I had 2 extra coaches helping us up at Byron Bay, for instance. But on other occasions, I think if it's quite a group of beginners, like the Mona Vale people, they've had a couple of coaches going there because they probably need a little bit more one-on-one, having not had coaching. So yeah, the more coaches, the better. But I'm not wanting to sort of make 3 coaches travel a long way, I guess. So I'm trying to be a little bit pragmatic about it and have one senior coach traveling, or maybe 2, and then local coaches supplementing, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yes, it does.
It's not always, it doesn't always work perfectly, but yeah, that's
okay.
Roberta.
A couple of things there. I mean, so what I was going to say before is because I had understood that the PACE was meant to be a little bit like a train the trainer model as well in terms of empowering the local coaches. I don't much like doing groups of more than 8. I'll do 10 as a one, but it's not preferable because the other thing about it, if you've got, well, we only have one lawn, of course, but, you know, in terms of getting them to play a game, you can actually get them to play a game with that many people and then still be available to them quite readily. Yeah, and there was another point I was going to make, but it was around that.
Run the trainer.
The trainer and
Yeah.
the traveling, yeah. But that's another thing. Was what I was thinking is a way of also promoting it to clubs as well. Is, you know, empowering, well, training up your coaches, and that's part of what it was. So is that actually explicit in the booklet in some way? You know, that it's a resource for your local coach. You know, this is a you know, so and that's the thing of you saying, Doug, you know, could you send it out to the local coach? Well, how is it explicit in the booklet that that is actually a resource? And I was thinking of it because that's what I was thinking around as a train the trainer model, you know, in terms of if you've got experienced coaches out there, because you can't have, you know, really expect people to be, you know, traipsing around the country. I mean, you and, you know, Peter have done a wonderful job in traipsing around, but it's that thing about using it to train the local coaches. So it's the thing, if you're traipsing around to all those clubs, is it, if you're doing that you actually say, okay, in doing that trip, I do a session for the local coaches specifically to train the local coaches to deliver. So that's that thing about developing the coaches that are out there. So you've got a lot of beginner coaches out there, you know, how are they being brought together to make sure that they're actually, you know, developing their skills and then being able to take it up more locally as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Roberta. And I think I probably haven't been as explicit about that as I could be. And the booklet is definitely designed for a coach to use it as well. So I'll emphasize that. Yep. Doug.
Can't hear you.
You
You
just
might
need to.
No, I think I answered that before, or I asked that before.
Okay.
So just going back to Roberta, so one of the things we're doing out at Griffith in January is that we are spending the afternoon training 2 beginner coaches. So they don't have any existing coaches, but we are trying to bring on their coaching resources.
Yep, good point. And the same at Belconnen. They have no coaches yet, so every time I go there, I hassle them and say, "Okay, when are we getting you guys trained up?" So yeah, we can't make them too dependent.
And that'd be the same for your new club at Mona Vale as well. You've got lots of coaching resources going into there, Penny. You know, are there people there that you know putting the hard word on to become the coaches there?
Most probably. There's a couple of, well, the girl who runs it down there is quite good, so she could step up. I was just thinking, I mean, I did my level 3 coaching most probably 7 years ago. I don't even know how you become a coach now. And it's not sold from Croquet New South Wales. It's not saying become a coach, apply. How do you become a coach now?
Well, obviously the newsletter again, I do put regular things in the newsletter, Penny, but it's obviously not reaching people. So I might have to, is it better to direct mail clubs? How do people get this information to say we really would like to see every club have coaches, you know, at least one coach in all the codes that you coach in?
What I'm trying to say is coaching, or when I did it and did 3, I think I went at Strathfield, Stephen Burns did it. I can't remember who did the level 3 coaching, but we were invited to come to a session, and I've seen nothing that says, come along and be a coach. We're running a session at Mossman on the 27th, and you will get your coaching thing. I don't know whether Croquet New South Wales does that.
Yeah,
Isn't that something the club hubs do in terms of coordinating such things?
I don't know what
Some
hubs do.
areas have more proactive hubs than others. I don't think Sydney metropolitan area has a hub.
We
No, it
don't,
doesn't really.
but
Yeah.
I'm not sure what
I
a
don't
hub.
know what they spend the money on, but that's another discussion.
Strathfield's the hub,
Yeah.
leading the
I
hub.
mean,
Yeah.
we know that it's called a hub and it gets funding, but I don't know what it does.
They run quite a lot of coaching sessions, competitions.
Do they?
Yeah, they
Yes,
do. They
yes.
actually do. Given the size of that
The
organisation, they
newsletter
do.
shows what they
But
do.
I think I had
don't.
this plan in my head, Penny, that I would run. I would say there are going to be, 3 coaching sessions a year in Sydney, and they're going to be run these times of the year, and you need to enrol. That's what a lot of sports do. We tend to get requests for coaching from around the state, and it's quite. It's usually for golf croquet level 1, so we could probably just run at least 2 sessions a year in Sydney, North and South Sydney, but it's not just trying to do that reaching of the people who need to be coaches. That's what I'm trying to work out. Traditionally, we write to the clubs, and the clubs are supposed to ask their players. We've got the power to write to every single member, but I don't want to overuse that. And that's not necessarily what this request should be about. So I'm trying to understand, how do I find the people to invite them? Once a session is planned, so Stephen did a level 2 session in Cooks River a few months ago, and I saying, are there other people? Can we please bring more people to your session? It's silly to have you run a session for 1 or 2 people. And so we always try and advertise it in the surrounding clubs to say we're running the session. Every session is on the events list on Croquet New South Wales website. But again, you've got to go there and find it. So I'm really open to ideas about how I can make those things match up better. Liz, I think you wanted to say something.
The Northern Beaches for level 1 coaching.
Sorry, Penny, I missed that. Say that again.
I'd love someone to do something on the Northern Beaches or the North Shore that we can promote within our club to get some coaches involved.
Okay, you're on. We'll do it. And you'll be hosting it. That'll be great.
Well, we can host it.
I
It's
think
only
the
a
leaders,
2-hour, 3-hour session anyway.
It's
We
very
hosted.
well. They'll have to do their online course first.
Yes.
And they're working with children. So if you can help them with that, then it's 2-3 hours. It's not very long, and it's a fun day. If you have a few people doing it at once, it can be really very positive. Kevin's done some great sessions in our region to get coaches together. Sorry, Liz, you had your hand up.
I think really it is about leadership in the club itself. I think, clearly if the leaders in the club are checking the website, getting the messages from Croquet New South Wales, reading the newsletter, they should be the one pursuing it, and then tapping people on the shoulder and saying, have you ever considered being a coach? And then obviously making that contact for them, because a lot of people are a little bit shy about thinking that they're good enough to teach someone else. So I think the leadership in the club really has to drive things much better. And I know not all clubs will do that, but certainly if we had at least half the clubs doing it, I think, they'd be so much better off.
So probably a few different prongs, but doesn't it, Liz, doesn't it? So in saying to the clubs, how's your club offer coaches? Do you want more coaching resources at your club? Here's how you do it, as well to offer coaching sessions to those areas where we can identify that there is a need for it. And some areas we usually try and run at least one golf croquet level 1 coaching session in our club or vicinity a year, at least one. And then then we supplement it with others. So each club should be thinking, have we got enough coaches?
And surely, sorry, Kate.
Go on. Yep.
Surely a come and try day, the only people stepping forward to help would be coaches.
No, that's not true.
No, I mean, no, that should be the case, that they're the ones that can actually talk the visitors through how it all works. I think it has to be structured. So an effective come and try day should involve the coaches. Anyway, that's my view.
I think that's ideal. I don't think it's necessary, but it's ideal. But I think people are a bit scared of becoming a coach because it's a commitment. But the level 1 coach is a beginner coach, and you're absolutely right. It's really about introducing people to the sport. So I think it's not something people should be scared of. So we're losing a few coaches at the moment after the Greg Berry flurry. Some people have decided they don't want to keep coaching, which is fine. It just means we need to replenish those numbers. So we're kind of holding our own, but we're not gaining ground at the moment in terms of numbers of coaches. So that's something to, I guess, a reason to approach the clubs and say, you know, let's identify at least 1 or 2 coaches in your club, and let's train them up. Okay, it's now 6:16. So at the moment, I'm going to have a little look at the foundation book, think about the name of it, and then I'll run it past the golf croquet coaches that probably all golf croquet coaches to see if there's any input that people would like to have, definitely from you to you guys. And then I'll also show you my draft for the next level of coaching, the committed or the aspirational coaches. And again, I'm very keen to get comments, suggestions for other exercises that people think are good, or for some additions to how we can teach strategy, that sort of thing, because I think that's quite an interesting part of the coaching pathway. And then I'll be really banging the drum about getting more coaches, as well as offering the PACE program once the booklet's agreed. Is there anything else that people would like to see happen in the next phase?
No, look, Kate, I'd just like to thank you for all you've done this year, because there was kind of nothing happening before this year, and you've really got things moving. So thank you very much. I think it's been a great start, and some of the things that have been raised today will obviously be continuations, but I think it's been really good. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you people stepping up and taking the programs out. That's what makes it actually happen. So anyway, I'm not far away. Always happy to hear your suggestions. Fiona did a virtual clap or a heartwarming fire or something. Well done. How to communicate when you haven't got it. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, everybody, and I'll follow up those issues. You'll hear more from me. Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Kate.
See you next
Thanks,
time.
Kate.
That's been great.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Got to remember how to turn off the recordings.